kid, the usual closet sort of thing. And one night I was sleeping and I was awakened to see two heads sticking through a window. And I thought to myself, you can't stick your head through a closed window. So at that point in time, I began sleeping under the covers, and eventually what led to my mom would wake me up and ask me why I'm sleeping under the bed, so they can't see me, and what do you think a 6-year-old kid's talking about? But, some imaginary forces in the closet or something, whatever the case may be.
And eventually you were taken?
As I understand it, we've been there a few times. I've had other family members indicate that they've watched as this occurred. Although they're not a part of it, they were a third party to the event taking place.
Is this a repressed memory, or do you have full recollection of what happened?
They're definitely repressed memories. The only clear memory I have is the first time, as I understand it, and the last time that I can remember something happening, I woke up at about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, aware of what I thought to be an intruder in my room, and went to handle it. And when I went to move, I got halfway through my motion and could not move.
Take the story further. What happened?
Well, at that point in time, one of the individuals began to speak to me, and it was a little confusing because I realized that the sound was within my head and not within my ears. It was the strangest voice or vocalization, if you will, that I've ever heard, because it didn't sound like you and I speaking. Now, as my brother was struck twice by an individual, he went into the hospital, was in a coma for 5 days, and eventually died. The moment of his death was one I clearly remember because I was laying in bed thinking about it, and he walked into the room and put his right hand on my hip, his left hand on my right shoulder, and said, "I've got to go. You've got to let me go. Goodbye." And I immediately sat up, got dressed. I was at the hospital within 7 minutes, and they couldn't understand why I already knew he was dead.
And for people who can't quite understand that, how do you differentiate that from a dream or?
For somebody else's satisfaction, you can't. It's a reality. It is a reality to me, just as a fear you may have is a reality to you that may not be to me.
But it all physically happened.
Oh, it physically happened. I sleep on a waterbed. When he walked in and put his hand on my hip, my body sank into the waterbed, and that's what brought me to attention. And I went to sit up, and he put his hand on my shoulder to keep me laying down.
And what were you? Has any of have the sessions with Dr. Goldberg helped you to sort of put this together, these experiences? Or?
Well, it solidified what I knew to be the case with regard to what I call visitation as opposed to abduction. I mean, there are things that you know and that are inside of you that bother you or you think about, or it's just constantly there, and it's nice to have a third party go, "You know what you're talking about?" "Yeah, I do."
How far away have you ever been? I mean, is a meter about as far away as you?
No. The other side of the United States.
And
I went looking for a friend who I missed very dearly, and this individual was at school back east, very prominent university, and I had seen photographs of his room and things of that nature, and we were really close throughout high school, so I consciously went there and looked around the room and made some comments to him, and before I left, I said, "Call me when you wake up." And the next morning, I got a really strange telephone call. He goes, "What the hell were you doing last night?" I go, "What are those pipes in the room? Those pipes weren't there before. Why is the stereo on the wrong side of the room?" And his response was, "I just moved last week." And I didn't know that he had moved.
Another perhaps dumb question, but to get to the other side of the United States, are you aware of that?
You're just there.
You're
there.
Just there.
You're there.
Could you relate the out-of-body experience to the reincarnation and to dealing with your brother and your father's death as a big picture?
Well, the big picture is that this is just a small picture here. This is it's just a school as far as I'm concerned. It's just a class. I have dreams where I'm with my brother and my father, and we'll be standing in streams fishing. And he and I have ongoing conversations, but my father is always a distant from me, and he will never turn around. And Craig explains to me that he's still embarrassed.
What's he embarrassed about?
Suicide.
Still embarrassed about the way he left.
But it's a big picture. I know that I'll be. I know that there's so much more than this, and this is just a little bit of what truly is going on. It's like giving somebody one choice.